Greetings, Gio, Gonzo, and all the patrons and subscribers who are watching this YouTube video. Hopefully, if it's made the cut, but if not, no worries. I just thought I'd hop on here, nice and early, shortly after the game here is finished. West Ham 4, Ipswich 1. And finally, we've got that monkey off our back. We've got our first win at home, and I couldn't be any more happier with it. Dad and I watched the Ipswich game last week, and I thought, oh yeah, West Ham will whoop these guys easily. But they got a draw against Villa. And yes, it was at their home ground, but I was like, they played really, really well. Phillips and Morsey in that game against Villa looked like a good midfield partnership. I thought that Morsey was very, very erratic, not erotic, very different meaning there, erratic with some of the challenges that he put in. And I thought that, hey, we might be able to bait, 2 yellows out of this bloke, but he was a lot more calm this game. Regarding the game, what can I say? New team, same Phillips. That's a bit cynical. That's a bit harsh on the bloke, but I mean, he did dilly-dally on the ball for that first goal, didn't he? But, I think that we're not really used to being the ones who jump teams. We're normally the ones getting jumped, and then we normally have to fight, an uphill battle for parts of the game. But it was good to get that goal nice and early. I wasn't expecting it. And, but I still do think that our defence is a bit of a problem, though. We were caught off guard, weren't we? Especially that goal. I thought it was a very sloppy goal that we conceded. However, everyone's giving stick to Areola, which I reckon fair enough. Yeah, he's beat at the near post. The angle, it's quite far away. The angle was, favourable towards him. However, I don't think he was expecting it, because Delap got it so far out, and he's sort of in what us Aussies would call the pocket, and that sort of means, towards the side of the goals, right? And he wasn't even facing the goal, and he sort of turned and shot. Slightly disappointing from Areola. Bad goal to concede. Paqueta should have stayed with him a bit tighter, I reckon. I reckon Delap shakes him a bit too easily there, but then again, Paqueta is not a defender. That's not his bread and butter. That's not his main job, but still I reckon he should be, doing a bit more there. But thankfully we're able to respond pretty well, I reckon. I think there were times as well, especially early in that first half, where we had a chance to really whip a ball in, but we sort of dilly-dallied on with it, especially on the right-hand side. It was either, Bowen or Wan-Bissaka who had the chance to really put in a good ball, but they were hesitant about it, and by the time they eventually whipped one in, the defence is all set, and Muric, their goalkeeper, was all on it. I mean, a couple of corners as well. He's come really, really strongly to claim them, and I reckon that Ipswich, if it weren't for Muric, I reckon that the scoreline could have been 1 or 2 goals better in our advantage. What I noticed as well is that after Phillips made the error that leading to the first goal, he actually grew into the game, I thought. He played better since giving up possession. He laid one into Souček and Paqueta, if you remember that. And then later on, in the 37th minute or so, some pretty, not bad misses, but Kudus hit the post with one of his headers, and Souček had a great chance as well. I thought we need to be more clinical with those if we're really going to really stamp our foot down and punish people properly, because when we're playing against these teams that are lower than us, I think that you'll get multiple chances like that. But when we come against like a top 6 team, we're probably only going to get like those 2 or 3, maximum 3 chances throughout the whole game. So we probably need to be a lot more clinical than that. But what I noticed was that, we're pressing a lot higher. That's a really good thing, I think. The football, the product itself is a lot more entertaining. That's what I reckon, anyways, than good old, dinosaur David ball. Like the product that we're dishing out is a lot is far superior. It's a lot more entertaining. And because of that, I've found myself enjoying West Ham games more rather than be pretty down about it and only really be excited for 10% of the game. Now it looks like we're actually trying to attack, which is a positive change. For those who I think say want Lopetegui out, I'm one of those sympathisers who think that he deserves a bit of time. The only reason I say that is because look at how many players we brought in, and yeah, like if you look at this as like a whole video game concept, that you've replaced some players that were 75 rated with players who are 82 rated. Why can't you make this work? Well, it doesn't quite work like that in real life, does it? I mean, you need time for these players to get to know each other well, and if the chemistry isn't there, then you're not going to play well, are you? I reckon, like, mainly due to that, he should deserve, some more time, and especially off the back of a result like that. The main positive takeaways is, for me from this game is that the players who are out of form this season all scored. Antonio, Kudus, although his form's all right this year, but Bowen and Paqueta, like those three in particular, very happy to see them on the score sheet. Antonio, he's everyone's calling him to be a bench player. I don't completely disagree with that point of view. I reckon he would be very, very helpful for us off the bench. However, at the moment, he seems to be our only sort of really, really decent kind of option. I mean, this is just my opinion, right? But if we play Danny Ings, he doesn't really quite have like the strength or the argy-bargy, if you like, that Antonio does. There were a couple of times there I thought in the game, Antonio played really, really well. There was that one time he knocked the ball in front of one of the defenders, and he really got his skates on. I'm like, gee, what is this, 20? Is this lockdown, Antonio? He really put the jets on. He got there. He got to the ball first, and then there was another time later in the second half before he was subbed off, where he was in a tussle with that Greaves centre back guy, and I think he shouldered him off the ball. Greaves was on the floor, and Antonio, won the ball high. Got to the ball high up the pitch. We should have got a goal out of there, I reckon. But no, I reckon that Antonio had a really, really good game today. It was a great showing by him. He was a lot more prolific, and he didn't seem as isolated as he usually is when we sit very, very deep, kind of like we did under, David Moyes' era. I mean, he has said it himself that he has to feed off of scraps, right? But I thought that he was, a handful for defenders. His distribution was really, really good. And he was instrumental as well in getting that fourth goal. I think he was the one who passed it out wide to Bowen, and Bowen got the cross in to Paqueta at the back post, which for some reason neither Bowen or Antonio got the award for the assist. There was no assist there apparently, so it must have come off of a Ipswich defender. And a couple of closing points. Todibo, I thought, was great in defence. Very, very rarely did he lose that ball when it was a 50-50. So credits to him. And also no Mavropanos, despite him being in really, really good form, I thought. Dad and I, we have a cynical view towards Mavropanos. I mean, he's quite clunky. He was in that 3-0 showing to Chelsea. He was at fault for, well, certainly for at least one of the goals. When you put him at right back, he's like another beast altogether. Not really sure about him, bolting forward down that wing, but defensively, I thought that he might have gotten, maybe 10 to 15 minutes today, because we're 3 or 4-0 up by then, and I thought that you'd bring him on just to reassure that no more goals will be conceded. But he didn't. But that's all right. The scoreline is still a very healthy one, 4-1. And also, lastly, we should not get our hopes up as this is a newly promoted side. It's great when your team scores four goals in the game of football. However, we do have to remember the context that this is against a team that have just been promoted. Was it back-to-back promotions, I think, which is even more impressive, but it's easy. I think the term, polishing a turd is a bit offensive in this context, but I reckon that a lot of our players would shine brightly when you're against opposition that isn't of the best caliber. But in that same statement, hopefully, this would give our players who have been out of form some great motivation for them to continue on. Hopefully, this will then start a roll of good form. Hopefully, so right before the international break as well, which is great because I don't want to go into the international break all sad and gloomy. Yeah, and also that Delap bloke, he's a promising looking type, isn't he? He's in a rich vein of form. 3 goals in his last 2 games. Possible call up for England, maybe. To wrap this all up, I'm very, very happy with the result. And bring on those Spursy bastards, eh? Go on, you Irons.